recognizes Representative Baird.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Secretary. It's good to see you and appreciate all that you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
But my question is going to focus on China. You know, they've spent over 2 decades expanding their economic and political influence across Africa, and so becoming the continent's top trading partner and a dominant force in sectors that I think are critical to the United States' interests, particularly in agriculture and critical minerals. So I guess I'm just to ask you, Levin, you covered part of that in your last answer. But I really want to know what part agriculture can play in advancing the U.S. political influence, economic partnerships, and national security in the face of China's growing presence.
Well, I think the one point that I would make is, are there opportunities for us to improve the agricultural capacity of many of our partner nations, including in Africa? There's certainly things you can export, and in some markets that would make sense. But we are looking for opportunities to leverage both technologies and advances to allow more productivity in the agricultural sector. And that's what these countries want, particularly in Africa. Well, they will tell you repeatedly over and over again is they're not interested in aid, they're interested in development. They want our assistance to develop and to develop capabilities. And we do think that there are advances in agriculture. And it's one of the things we've worked and increasingly working with the Department of Agriculture on is how can we get some of our best practices, some of our scientific innovations that have been advanced by our agricultural sector in the United States, and provide them as perhaps in partnership with some of these nation states so that they can improve their own native homegrown agricultural capabilities. We think that would be a huge advantage to many of these countries, and many of them expressed interest in being a part of that sort of consortium.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think they have the resources that I'm talking about, the land and some of the other resources that are necessary for agriculture, but they just don't have the understanding of the technology that's used in agriculture today. So very good. So how can the restructured Department of State reassert American leadership in Africa, particularly through strategic investment? You were talking about investment early with the investment fund. So
yeah. So what we would look to for our missions on the ground at the embassy level and ultimately through the regional bureau is for help us to identify, because in every particular country, the opportunity is going to look different. And so as an example, we're still engaged in the DRC Rwanda negotiations, and our hope to we've gotten them to the table to sign a memorandum, but we hope they ultimately will cut a peace deal. But part of that is the ability to have American companies go in and in an ecologically responsible way, allow the country to benefit from its mineral rights. And from its mineral wealth. And so we want to be able to do that. So embassies would identify this opportunity. They would identify this as a priority. We would empower them to pursue it and to connect them with American companies that can help in that sector. So I think that's what the restructuring is really helpful for, is it'll allow at the individual country level for our embassies and its leadership to identify the unique opportunities that exist in one country versus another country. I think in the past, this has sort of been handled as a global thing as opposed to trying to specify it down to the regional and local level. We think we're going to get better results that way because every country is unique and every sector opportunity in every country is unique.
One last question. It kind of continues on in the same vein. But you know, as your department goes under reorganization, what steps can be taken to ensure that these programs, the research, I'm talking about research, are not only maintained but also guided by appropriate expertise, proper oversight, and a clear strategy that prioritizes measurable results and returns for U.S. taxpayers. And what I'm talking about is the investment in research and agricultural research. And I'm thinking about some of the diseases we have around the world that impact our poultry and livestock, the avian flu, the screwworm, some of that sort of thing. So we got about 46 seconds. So.
Well, I think the answer to that is these programs ultimately have to be judged by the outcomes and by what they're producing. We have to, every single year, you have to ensure that the dollar you're investing is having a return on it. And if a program goes a couple years, it may have a beautiful title, it may sound really noble, but it's not producing a result or an outcome for you, not just in the agricultural space, but in any space. We have to walk away from the program, no matter what it's titled. We have a lot of programs that have great titles, but have not resulted in any measurable positive outcome for 20 years.
Thank you very much. I couldn't agree with you more.